How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Weekly NFL Picks on Riley's Redzone. Excited to have you here for this video. It will just be myself again for this week. We will hopefully get the guest pickers rolling again shortly as we figure out the whole schedule with everybody. But if you're new to the channel, I release a weekly NFL Picks video in which I straight up choose who I think will win each contest each week. I will mention spreads to talk about who's the favorite, but in the end, I'm just picking who I think will win. So last week I went 9-7, moving my overall record this season to 40-24, right about where I was last year. So hoping for a bounce back week this week. For clarification as well, when a tie happens, like the Cowboys and Packers did, I count that as a loss for myself because technically I chose the Packers to win the game and they did not, so I count that as a loss for me. But what a game that was, and we'll talk about that when we get to those two teams. With it being Sunday, the Rams and the Niners already played earlier this week. I went with the Rams, and they just couldn't quite get it done. A couple of opportunities at the end. They went aggressive, and I respect it, but it didn't quite pay off for them. Also didn't pay off for me, so I'm 0-1 to start the week. So let's see how the rest of the slate is going to go by talking about what we have upcoming this week. Vikings and the Browns. Vikings overseas again, back-to-back weeks. They're playing early in the morning for us in the United States, and they're taking on the Browns this week, who are officially making the change to Dylan Gabriel at quarterback. And so that is interesting. No longer Joe Flacco. Eventually, we thought that maybe, the upside of these younger quarterbacks is probably going to be shown because you want to see if you have anything for the future. We'll have to see if Shador makes his way at any point, but for now it's Dylan Gabriel. And on paper, in an NFL debut, effectively, going against a Brian Flores defense, that's going to be a lot going through his head. I'll take Minnesota. They're favored by 3.5 in this game. Now, they're starting to get injuries all over the place, so that's certainly concerning, and that's in addition to, what they already had with, for example, J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, but then even Ryan Kelly was just placed on the IR. They've got some other injuries going on, so definitely concerning there, but I'll take Minnesota for this week. Next is maybe the game I had the toughest time picking a winner in. Came down to the last few because I always like to mix in some upsets. I like to see how some of my other picks do. And so it's the Dolphins and the Panthers. Two teams that are very, very close to each other in my rankings right now. And by my logic, usually I would go with the home team here. But this is going to be a matchup between two teams that I think have shown some slight potential at times. Now Miami is without Tyreek Hill, so that definitely plays a part in it. But I feel like for me, the Panthers have shown as well that sometimes they just aren't quite there. This is literally a 1 point separation as I'm looking at it right now. I'm going to take Miami on the road. I think that the chance of them having a big game is higher than the Panthers, and also kind of the higher chance of that scoring points. And so it should be a close one between two teams that you really got to start doing something if you want to stay in this season, but I'll go with Miami for now. Dallas and New York. Now, this is one I'm honestly a little shocked by. The Dallas and Green Bay game last week was a result that, I feel like if you're the Packers, you hoped you would have won it. If you're the Cowboys, you probably could have won it too, but you're somewhat happy you stayed tight with a really good team in Green Bay. I'm somewhat shocked right now that with the way things are lined up, that by only 1.5 the Cowboys are currently favored. But they are taking on the New York Jets, who are at home in this matchup. The Jets can certainly be scrappy. We've seen them be able to play some close games as well this season, even if they can't win it. I'm going to go with Dallas to try to keep some momentum after that tie last week. That was a high-scoring matchup by, once again, 1.5 they're favored. I'll take Dallas in that game, but that could be a really interesting one. Las Vegas and Indianapolis. How about this? I mean, Las Vegas started to show some signs, getting Ashton Genty involved recently, but I still am not all the way in on it. Indianapolis feels like another one of those teams that had a really, really hot start to the year, maybe starts to fall down to earth, but honestly, with their schedule so far and taking on the Raiders this week, I'll take them in this game to take down Las Vegas. This is once again, as I talked about with the Panthers and the Dolphins for Las Vegas. If you want to make something happen this season, you're probably going to need to win a game like this, but I'll take Indianapolis for now. Denver and Philly. So Philly escapes last week over Tampa Bay. The Broncos, I once again have talked last week. I think that their expectations were a little higher going into the year than what they've had, but I still think they're a very, very solid football team. I'll take the Eagles to be safe here until proven otherwise. They are the top team for me, and so I'll take the Eagles to keep going. But eventually, one of these games, you'd have to think that a team can go in and slice them, but for now, I got to go Philadelphia. This game has me intrigued. The Giants and the Saints. So the Giants make the switch to quarterback with going to Jackson Dart, and he leads them to a win against the Chargers. I didn't have that one on the bingo card. I did pick Los Angeles, and credit to the Giants that they just went out there and they were able to fight through and win. Him and Cam Scatterboo is maybe the future in New York. I don't know. We'll have to find out. But the Saints, obviously they haven't been able to get it done this season, but they can play all right at times. They're at home here. I was kind of interested. I was, before looking at what the spreads were, kind of feeling a gut feeling that this could be a game that the Saints pull off here at home to finally kind of get something going. And wouldn't you know, I look and they're favored in this matchup. Now, the injury to Malik Neighbors maybe plays a part in New York. Now you're missing one of your top weapons. I'm still shocked they're not favored in this game. I'll take the Saints, though, because I do have some other picks that we'll get to down the line here that are a little bit riskier, that I still have some upset picks on the board. So I'll go with the favorite here, because that was my gut feeling as well. We'll obviously see how it turns out. But I'll go with the Saints in that one. Houston and Baltimore. This is a game right here, because Houston started so slow and they pick it up last week. But then again, that's against the Titans, so they haven't exactly been great, and their quarterback says the same. We'll get to them shortly here. But the Ravens are so banged up. So banged up. They have injuries all over the place. You even talk about they're going to have to start Cooper Rush this week at quarterback. I was kind of intrigued, honestly, even in the offseason, that they went and got Cooper Rush as the backup, because historically, the Ravens have kind of gone with a guy who mirrors Lamar, not the same, but more in some type of speed skill set, or you can just kind of have that same thing. But Cooper Rush, I feel like, is obviously doesn't have the running ability, but is a little bit different in what Baltimore is going to do. And so with that, there's so many injuries on that team on the defensive end. But I think as an underdog at home, this is one of those that everything says to take the Texans. I'll take Baltimore in this game. There's not really much logic or reason to it. As said, Houston looked better last week, but I'm still not all the way in. Even though preseason I thought they'd really still be in the hunt, I don't think I'm going to overreact, because they took on the Titans, as said. But I'll take Baltimore in an upset pick there, which is intriguing. Tennessee and Arizona. I mean, I talked about it. I mean, when your quarterback, and he's a rookie, but honestly, I see it from Cam Ward's perspective. He's showing a lot of leadership, in my opinion, as a rookie quarterback, to go up to the podium and say, we've wasted a quarter of our games this year. We're 0, it's. I think that I thought that's the more realistic approach. Is you really have to lock in at this point. Now, obviously, as others mentioned, you got to learn how to speak that in front of the media. But I definitely think that that's some initiative that this Titans team needs, because they have struggled. They've been passengers on the struggle bus the entire season so far, and they're taking on Arizona, who to me is going to be hungry for a win after last week's game, last Thursday. And so I think that I'll take the Cardinals. They're favored by a little over a touchdown. I think that they'll be hungry for the win. And as mentioned, the Titans just aren't super high on my list right now in terms of the rankings. We'll see what they can do. Tampa Bay and Seattle. Tampa Bay couldn't quite pull it out against the Eagles. I took a swing that they could maybe do it, and they were one of the more competitive games we've seen played against Philadelphia, so I'd do it again. The Seahawks are doing pretty well, especially with Sam Darnold at quarterback. They're doing decent. I think Mike McDonald's looking like he could have been a decent hire and might be the guy for the Seahawks, but I'm a little shocked that Tampa Bay is the underdog in this game, and so I'm going to go full throttle, Give me the Bucks to bounce back. Now the Seahawks at home, that's dangerous, but I'll take Seattle to probably fall to Tampa Bay in this game. But that's a really tough matchup for sure. That those are two good teams. This matchup's going to mean a lot, and I think if you're Tampa Bay, you don't want to go back-to-back losses. Detroit and Cincinnati. Cincinnati just hasn't been able to get it together right now without Joe Burrow. They're going with Jake Browning, and so I'll go with Detroit kind of straight up here. They're double-digit favorites. That's just a safe call in this spot. Detroit has been able to really show that once again, even though that week 1 loss to the Packers to start off the season, they're right back in it. They are, still pretty legit team, and they're a contender, so I'll stick with them over Cincinnati. Washington and Los Angeles. Now, Jaden Daniels is going to be back for the Chargers, and that is or for the Commanders, sorry, and that is huge as they're taking on a good team in the Chargers who dropped last week to the New York Giants. And so I'm a little bit surprised that the Chargers, although they are at home, are favored by over the Commanders, and the Commanders did fall last week, but that was without Jaden Daniels. And I think that he can be enough in this game to put them back in contention versus a team like Los Angeles. And so I will take the Commanders as underdogs on the road to try to pull off a win over Los Angeles. Chargers, I think, don't panic. They'll be fine, but certainly a game to see there. Patriots-Bills. I think that the Patriots have shown some potential at times, which is great for them, but I just have to go with the safe pick in Buffalo right now. I think that that's the move to go with at this point. They have Josh Allen. They're ready to go. I'll take them. They're a little over touchdown favorites going into this week, so I'll take Buffalo in that game. But that for a Sunday night matchup could be pretty enjoyable. And then we have the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Which is actually turning out to be maybe a better game than we think. The Jaguars have somewhat been rolling, winning games with first-year head coach Liam Cohen with them, and the Chiefs, though, are able to start getting in their right direction. Now, once again, the Ravens ended up kind of banged up, but they went and poured it on when they needed to, even when Lamar was in the game, over the Ravens. And so Kansas City didn't hit the panic button. I don't think they should be at all. They're favored by a field goal on the road. I'm going to stick with them to win it, but the Jaguars are certainly a fierce team also. So those are my picks for this week's games. We will have another edition next week. Maybe we have guest pickers. We'll see if the schedule works out with everybody. Want to start getting that back into it. But for now, thank you very much for watching this video. If you're making picks yourself, best of luck to you, and I will see you in the next one.